Have quite a story here for everybody. It's something that we've been speculating for a while is the case, but now we have, some degree of verification. This is in Mediaite. Trump appears to threaten third-party run to split Republican Party in half. Okay, here we go. Former President Donald Trump appeared to wink and nod at a third-party run in 2024 by sharing on his Truth Social an article arguing for the GOP to split in half. Trump shared the article titled, "The Coming Split," it's not very subtle, without comment on Wednesday night, but many pundits and observers were quick to take notice as Trump remains the ostensible leader of the Republican Party. At this point, honestly, that's debatable because there was one poll that had him at a 30% approval rating, which is the lowest that I've seen since he entered politics. And then there was one that just came out this week, which I think was a more reputable polling outlet, and it had him at 31%. So it's like consistent now that he's really low in the polls, and DeSantis is now beating him in maybe half or maybe even a majority of the polls in a head-to-head matchup. So he shared the article from, I think it's called American Greatness website. It's basically like a MAGA pro-Trump website. Like that's their whole point in existing. They continue here in Mediaite and say, the article published in the right-wing pro-Trump website American Greatness argues, quote, "What should we do when a majority of Republicans want Trump, but the Republican Party says we can't have him?" Now, by the way, that is not what the majority of the Republican Party says. Again, I just told you, 30% approval rating, 31% approval rating, and even in polls where he's winning, he usually has a plurality but not a majority. Okay. The article by Dan Galerntner leans in heavily on the debunked allegations that the 2020 presidential election was stolen, of course, because that's literally all Trump thinks about and talks about and apparently reads about. They talk about how the deep state stole the presidency from him. Quote, "The Republican machine has no intention of letting us choose Trump again. He is not a uniparty team player. They'd rather lose an election to the Democrats, their brothers in crime, than win with Trump." Okay, I think that is totally bogus. That's totally not true because they've fallen in line behind Trump 412 times. What they've noticed now is that he's a fucking loser. Lost in 2018 in the midterms, lost in 2020 in his election, lost in 2022, again, in midterms. So he's a loser. So yes, the Republican establishment is trying to get past him. The reason why they're doing that is because they want to fucking win. Quote, "That leads us to the inevitable question, what should we do when a majority of Republicans want Trump? They don't. But the Republican Party says we can't have him. Do we knuckle under and vote for Ron DeSantis because he would be vastly better than any Democrat?" The author asked before concluding, "I say no." Oh, this is getting interesting. I say no. We don't knuckle under. And I like DeSantis. I vote for him after Trump's second term, but not before. Galerntner then goes on to again claim Trump is beloved by the everyday GOP voter and that the establishment is suppressing him. The RNC can pretend Trump isn't loved by the base anymore, that he doesn't have packed rallies everywhere he goes, but I'm not buying it. Talk to Republican voters anywhere outside the Beltway, and it is obvious that he is admired and even loved by those who consider themselves ordinary Americans. Notably, a quick scan through Galerntner, I don't know why I struggle with this guy's name so much, articles, reveals many of these types of claims, like this one from a post-midterm article claiming that both the 2020 and 2022 elections were stolen. Of course. Anytime Trump's candidate shit the bed, which is virtually every time since 2016, "Oh no, it's fake, bro, it's totally made up. Stole it." Of course, it was only a feeling, but I noticed it was shared by a surprising number of people in Deep Blue, Connecticut. Okay, so now this guy's saying, bro, he's even going to win in Connecticut. He would win in Connecticut if it was a fair fight. I mean, this is beyond comical. Enthusiasm for Trump 2020 had run higher than for any presidential candidate people could remember. Higher than it had for Obama the first time around, and it was all just a mirage. So while this guy sees unprecedented levels of support for Trump in Connecticut, of all places, he does come down to earth a bit and offer a prediction for how a third-party run by Trump would end. Quote, "Do I think Trump can win as a third-party candidate? No. I would vote for him as a third-party candidate? Yes. Because I'm not interested in propping up this corrupt gravy train any longer." Galerntner concludes in the article Trump shared, quote, "Mitch McConnell says that providing assistance for the Ukrainians to defeat the Russians is the number one priority for the United States right now, according to most Republicans. Most Republicans where? Inside his bank account?" Galerntner adds, repeating the rhetoric on the far right regarding the Russian invasion of Ukraine. On that point, look, he's actually correct on that. The idea that your average American on the right or the left is like, thing number one is we must give Ukraine another $40 billion. That's just not true, okay? People are deluding themselves if they think, like, yeah, that's number one on the list for the American people. No, it would be the economy, jobs, healthcare, wages, shit like that. It certainly is not, let's send billions more to Ukraine. You could have whatever opinion you like on that issue specifically, but to pretend it's number one is ridiculous. Anyway, look, the thing that's interesting about this is they're kind of like shades of the Bernie or bust types in 2016 and in 2020. But the difference is, and this is an important difference, right? Agree or disagree with the Bernie or bust types. The reason why they wouldn't bend the knee to Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden was much more principled than what these goobers are talking about. Because they wouldn't bend the knee because they say, look, I don't think Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton is going to give us universal health care. I don't think they're going to do a living wage. I don't think they're going to end the wars. I don't think they're going to eliminate student loan debt. And so they say, look, you're not hitting like any of my core concerns, any of my main policy priorities. So, and a lot of the Bernie or bust types would admit, and I think this is correct to admit, no, of course, Hillary is a lesser evil. Joe Biden is a lesser evil than Trump or whatever generic Republican, right? But the principled stance they took was, if I don't think you're going to hit any of my core policy beliefs, then yeah, maybe I'm not going to bend the knee. Maybe I'm not going to get involved in politics. Maybe I'm going to sit this one out. And again, you can agree or disagree with that approach, but that was where they were coming from. That was the reasoning. With Trump, there is no like, well, he's going to do X, Y, and Z, and establishment Republican X or Ron DeSantis is not. No, this has nothing to do with policy. This is literally all just a cult of personality. This is all like they've rented their brains out to Trump and they believe in him like he's an emperor god king. And so even if DeSantis, and by the way, he would, if DeSantis did every single thing Trump would do, same policy agenda, which is the case, that is what would happen. They're like, no, I don't care. I still want Trump first. So it's more like, I view this reaction as more like of a babyish reaction than the Bernie or bust types. Again, you can agree or disagree with the Bernie or bust types, but I understood their reasoning. I understood the logic of where they would come from. I don't understand this at all. If DeSantis or Mitt Romney or any Republican is effectively going to govern the same, and by the way, I think all the evidence in the world says they do. They would. Even Liz Cheney, who shits on Trump 24/7, voted with Trump like 92 or 95% of the time. There is no fundamental difference. But with these guys, it's not about policy. They don't care about policy. It has nothing at all to do with policy. And so it's just funny to me. But I will say, final point is, let them fight. Let them fight. Because look, so what are the most likely scenarios on the Republican side? Okay, let's run through this. The most likely scenarios. Scenario number one, Trump wins the primary. Okay. I think he would win with a plurality. I don't think it would be a majority if he were to win. But then he's very likely to lose the general because he just self-siloed himself. That made no sense. He siloed himself off from like normal politics and normal people, and he's hanging out with Pizzagate types and QAnon types. So he can't win a general. He's talking about terminating the Constitution and can't shut up about the 2020 election. So even if he wins the primary, he's not. I don't think he's going to win the general. I mean, I'll give him like a 1% chance, right? That's one scenario for the Republican Party. Another scenario is DeSantis wins, and DeSantis could beat a Democrat in the general election in 2024. But what happens if DeSantis wins? Does Trump go silently into the night? Does he forget endorsing DeSantis? I think that'd be totally off the table if Trump loses to DeSantis. Is he even going to do the thing of like, I'm just going to back off here and not say anything and just let this guy do it? No, I don't think so. I think the more likely scenario is he would run as an independent in the general. And then you would definitely split the Republican vote. So you'd split the right-wing vote. I think you'd get, in a scenario like that, Trump would get maybe 12%, anywhere from 12% to 20% of the vote in a general election. DeSantis would get more than that, but the Democrat would waltz into office because they would crush in the Electoral College and crush in the popular vote because you've now split the right-wing vote. So that's all possible. Another possibility is that like Trump croaks or Biden croaks or whatever. But right now there is no winning for them. They're really caught between a rock and a hard place for the Republican Party. And this article really cements it. That now Trump is floating it, and the implication here, the underlying threat here is, if anybody else other than me wins, it's a wrap for you fuckers. Like, I'm coming after you. It's over. It's done. Like, I'm not taking no for an answer here. And again, I say, let him fight. Again, it's just funny that there's no policy at the core of it. That's hilarious to me. On the left, when you had like the Bernie or bust types and the Civil War on the Democratic side, it always came down to policy. It was always like, you guys actually aren't trying to fix the country because you're corrupt and you're bought and you're neoliberal corporatists and we hate that, and so we're not going to suck it up. Like, that was the fight. It was like, The social democrats and democratic socialists, and even people to the left of that, versus like the centrist neoliberal corporate Democrats, right? Like that was the fight. It was substantive. This is not substantive. This is like, I need my cult leader. Even if the next guy is more electable and he's going to do the same things, I don't care. I don't want him. All right, man. They are self-destructing, and frankly, you love to see it.